Thanks for tuning in. We're Julie and Dana, two moms navigating marriage and motherhood. But this is definitely not your mom's podcast.
What's up? It's like she's making fun of me because I always say, what's up? So
it's your signature.
I'll just say, hey, it's Julie.
It's Dana. This is not your mom's podcast. And we're talking about the end of the world and our fears.
I know. So she's always like, did you see this or whatever on TikTok? And I'm like, no. And she's like, what are you watching on there? I'm like, my TikTok feed is always about like dark Hollywood, like how P. Diddy is going down for all this like sex scandals and like all
shit.
and then I get in that like
dark rabbit hole. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the end of the world stuff.
Yep. This sounds very anxiety inducing.
And then it's going to get better.
Okay.
And then about like astrological stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, like I think yesterday was like a huge big day, like
it was.
Jupiter and Uranus or something.
And they said April in general is actually more of like the new
Pivotal.
year, and we should really be manifesting in April and not like January.
Yeah, I think it's like either Pisces or Aquarius is like the age of Pisces. I think it's Pisces is out and we've started like a whole new one and I forget which one it is. And then on the live stuff, I watch people that like hold their crystals and they go up and down.
I do that too.
And like the Reiki energy and I'm like, my eyes like start to flutter and roll back in my head. I love that shit.
Yeah.
Or like ASMR. So ASMR has been coming up a lot. And I thought about you. This one girl was going like this. She was going like, and I was like, I was in it. And what else is in there? I think that's about it. Oh, and just like meditation.
Okay. Well.
And extraterrestrials, UFOs, extraterrestrials.
You sound like you have John's
multi-dimensional beings.
FYP. Yeah. He always has this shit that he's
this
like.
This is what I listen to.
And I'm like, I don't know.
All the time.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that pops up on my stuff. So I don't know any of like the hardcore, like cool trending stuff.
I think just because because like my stuff is like creating for Mom Talk and like everyone that I follow is Mom Talk. I get a lot of that.
Yeah.
And then I also get some weird like current events thrown in and stuff like that, but definitely different. But speaking of the end of the world, I think it was interesting. You were like, it's funny like how, and it's so true, like we've talked about this a million times, but like we are on this big floating rock and literally anything could happen at any time.
And I mean, it even a sphere?
Did you hear they're talking like World War III? We have freaking
TikTok banning, whatever things.
I mean, yeah,
that's
but
I'm
the
saying
world,
like that
could end.
I feel like if it's a TikTok ban, like that might be a way that they want to shut people up. Like, because people are starting to talk about things like taxes. Like they don't want to pay their taxes anymore because there's, talk about the IRS. Where's all this money going to? Mm-hmm. Like if you go to like other countries, they're looking really good as far as like what they've been able to build with like all that kind of tax stuff. And like we have so many people dying of like starvation. We are like no one can afford to live anymore. Like what's going on here? Like where are the like I don't know. Like I'm not an expert, but people are talking about that, right?
Yeah.
So you've got dark Hollywood shit coming up, like child trafficking shit coming up, like so I feel, and I don't know, but I feel like that could be a reason why they want. Oh, and like talking about the eclipse, how it was like fake and all that kind of stuff. Did we ever go to the moon? Like things like that.
I think I'm gonna be honest though.
Conspiracy theories.
TikTok was always presented as this like platform that wasn't so censored, and that's why people loved it.
Yeah,
I get censored more on TikTok than I do on Instagram and Facebook.
Say. People are getting pissed now that they can't even talk about what they want to talk about because it's getting like canceled, censored, all that kind of stuff.
Like TikTok has shut down multiple of my videos for like hardly any reason.
Right.
Instagram and Facebook don't do that, which is crazy because that was always known as the more censored one. So it's just interesting. But anyway, speaking of us being on a rock and anything can happen at any time and that being like, why are we so stressed about all these little things in life? And it's so true. Like I think about this, it really like actually like fucks with my mind a little bit. Like I'm like
we've been talking about money a lot, but it's like
a lot.
And I looked at you before we got on the podcast. I was like, one of the things I want to talk about is like, if this is our one life to live.
Yeah.
And we're already, I mean, I'm in my 40s and you're in your 30s. We're halfway there as far as like our youth and stuff like that.
Right.
And we have young kids and stuff. Why are we worried so much about like debt or paying something off or spending too much money on something or whatever it is? It's like, I don't know if this is our one life to live. Why do we care so much about like grades, accomplishes, like whatever we've accomplished, like
accolades and stuff.
Yeah, like just do what you want to do, right?
But you know what hurts me is like we say all this all the time, me and you, and I think we're both true believers in all of it. But then we're teaching our kids the exact opposite by doing the exact opposite with them. And I'm like, how am I so hypocritical? And like, why am I following this trend? Like, I believe like when I listen to people who unschool or people who like let their kids be very much kids. Like I am like, it speaks to me. Like when I tell you, like I see a connection with it, I'm like, yes, like I saw this thing about how she said, like, the reason she unschools is because she feels like traditional school is teaching them all past stuff. They're learning constantly about history, which is important, she said, but how long are you going to teach about that? Now, how do we apply future stuff? And they don't teach you about how to do taxes. They don't teach you about how to be an entrepreneur. They don't teach you about technology, making a video channel. How many people are getting rich online? Like,
true. Or even just like relationships. Like,
right.
guess what? You're not going to probably just have one person that you love. You'll go through many. Or how about teaching them like to love themselves first? Like your one great love is yourself first. Okay.
Right.
And then everything else comes
and
with
I think
it.
as parents, we could do a lot of that at home, but I definitely think when it comes to like book stuff,
Yeah, but
like,
sometimes your kids don't want to listen to you.
Yeah.
They'll listen to like a mentor. So
For
that's what I'm
sure.
saying. Like even yoga, how to breathe, how to deal with anxiety, how to try to calm, like
Yeah.
all those things. Like some of the schools in like California and stuff, they like do yoga and stuff. It's cute.
Yeah.
Like, and we don't have that here.
They
but
said there's a huge spike in depression in children since 2016.
yeah.
And actually 2010 they see is where like a lot of different things went wrong with kids. Like different mental illness, more depression, more ADHD, and like I can't believe we
Yeah.
can't like narrow it down to what. I mean, I think for sure the phones, but I also wonder if we're pushing this is also we've talked about this many times on this podcast. This is the hardest I think kids have ever been pushed.
Yeah.
Kids don't do basic sports anymore. Everyone's on travel sports. Kids don't,
I was just talking to someone. They said travel sports is killing America or something like that.
It's crazy.
It's a little dramatic, but like
it's changing the family unit.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. If you were to guess, how many hours a day would you say your kids spend outside? Unscheduled play.
Well, I'm kind of
Or let's say a week.
Okay. Maybe 2.
2 hours a week or 2 hours a day?
A week.
Yeah. So the recommended amount is 3 hours a day outside for kids.
Yeah. When they were younger and they were in
I agree.
dance, we were outside
all the
every
time.
motherfucking day.
Yeah.
And I did homeschool my kids for a year during COVID, and
Right.
we were out
all the
so
time.
much.
Yeah.
So much. So much.
But these kids are getting like a 30-minute recess. Like that's as much as they're seeing the sun.
Some of them, my friend just got like, I forgot what it's called, like in school where you're not fired, but they're like, you're no longer teaching at this school, and the county promises them another position in school, but it may not be. If you're a PE teacher for 20 years, which my friend was, they're like, you might come back as like a middle school history teacher. We'll promise you a job. It just might not be what you want because they're cutting down electives. They're cutting out PE and stuff.
That scares
She's
me.
like, now she's a single mom. She's like, I have to go find like a restaurant job until they figure out, because I don't know if I want to teach middle school history. She's like, my hours will change. I don't know. Like, so it's just like really
Wait,
sad.
but let's talk about not even her position, which is terrible.
I know.
Let's talk about what that means for our kids.
Yeah.
They already started cutting out electives. Our kids don't take
I know.
music class the way they used to. And do you know in our district, our kids do not have to take gym year round? They don't have to take PE year round. Actually, most of them don't. It's an elective that they take usually for 1 to 2 semesters. So the other half of the year, they're not doing PE.
It's terrible.
How is that not a year round?
I don't know.
Class?
Everyone needs, because
Everyone
and we're
needs
more sedentary than
exercise.
than we've ever been. We're all sitting around more than we have
I
ever been.
know.
And what's going on in the classroom that's more important? Because Styles tells me how much repetitive shit he does every single day, like this iReady shit. He's like on the iPad.
Yeah.
And Freya too, like she's in first grade for like 30 minutes just on iReady and stuff. Like, what are we doing in the
Violet
classroom?
cried to me the other day and said, my brain doesn't work the way that it's supposed to.
That's me.
But why am I then forcing her brain to work that way? I don't know. I have a lot of questions.
I know. I was not a kid
and a lot of
that
concerns.
like was put in like, to me, I feel like I should have been in a different school when I was younger. I suffered terribly.
Yeah.
From ADHD.
But there's not a lot of
and
options
dyslexia and
unless
things.
you
No,
have
there's
money.
not. Right.
If you have money, there's lots of options
Right.
out there. But if you don't have the extra money,
Mhm.
so then it becomes like, what do? You homeschool, but that's really hard too, especially if you have two
So
working
hard.
parents.
Yeah.
So it's tough. Anyway, but like, I mean, we've talked about
I don't know what the
homeschooling a
options are. Like,
bunch.
why don't we have better options? I guess is my question between homeschool and public school.
Right.
Okay.
And I think that's where they're coming up with these pods, which are great. But even them, they cost money.
Yeah.
Like they come at a cost. My friend is doing a pod around here, and it
also requires you to like dedicate your one day or something to it, right?
Well, that's like a real pod. So like
Okay.
that wouldn't cost money. And that is actually like something I would be interested. That's a real pod where you all switch up the kids and they go to different houses
One of
every day.
Styles' friend's mom just asked me the day. She's like, I'm looking to pull out, but she's like, I need a group. Because she's like, I'll hire
hard
a
to do
tutor,
alone.
like a teacher.
Right.
That was, whatever. And instead of working for the public school, she's got to make more money between like all 10 of us or whatever is in it. And I'm like, dude, It's tempting.
So we have one of those in the area too that's like a little bit more official. And it's a pod and they have a building.
Okay.
And the kids go there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Love it.
Monday they homeschool. Friday they're off.
Yeah.
I
feel like
there's
Friday they should be
teachers
off
there.
anyways.
But think about that flexibility. But it's $6,000 per kid per year, which is not anything like private school prices, but it's still a huge expense.
Yeah, we can't do that.
So it's just interesting, and I just feel like,
or if we cut back somewhere else, I guess.
Correct. But I know
the cat
it's
made
tough.
it back in. He's up on there.
She's like, I'm back.
I know.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. So I mean, I definitely think that the world is getting out of hand with busyness. We're all just the thing, like, I boss babe too hard. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
It's like all these women who like were like, I boss babe too hard, and now all of a sudden I'm working like in like an executive office like 60 hours a week. Meaning like we all had this push and this momentum to like we wanted to win at everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the culture that we were created in. But now I think we're all burnt out, and so many of us are being like, fuck this. Like, we don't want any of this. I mean, I think
women are scared to say that because we worked so hard to have the rights that we have now and have that boss bitch like vibe going on. My mom's always been that way, like back in the 60s and 70s, like it wasn't, popular, I guess, for women and of different like race and stuff.
Right.
But anyway, I was just telling my dad like how most people have 2-income families.
Yes.
And he was like, that's so different from how I was brought up. And I'm not saying that we need to go back to that era, but like it's more we're living way beyond what we can even afford. And it's not even because we want to be a boss bitch. We have to. We have to pull in more money because of the way we're living now. And also like why are we all working to live? Like why are we all working our asses off for money to have a house that's hundreds of thousands of dollars
that's a mess all the freaking time, and I can't keep up on
and
it.
that we can't ever pay off anyways.
Yes.
We have car payments.
We've all just
because
accepted
we didn't
we'll
buy
live in
a
debt.
car. Yeah, and we all have phones. Our kids now have phones now because everyone decided their child needed a phone at 8 years old. I'm sorry, I'm really pissed about that because I'm trying to wait for Styles, but here we are at the table and all the girls have their phones and he's sitting there and he's like, I want a phone. Like we made Callie wait, for a while too. Like everyone's got the best of everyone has everything. They all have watches, phones, iPads. No one gives a fuck about TV anymore because they all have their devices. I know there's a way that's, somewhat beneficial to be able to be having contact with them, things like that, like as, security and stuff. But I don't know, where did we get to this point where we all feel like we have to work 24 hours a day to afford all the things that we need? It's all about money.
So let's talk about this really quick because I was just at my grandma's house. So I was with like a lot of different age groups, right? Like my grandparents were in their mid 70s and my parents and my aunt and uncle who are in their like mid 50s. Okay. And it was a really interesting conversation we had. We talked about this and, their view is like your generation and the generation below you even more so is not going to be buying houses and is like whatever, all this stuff, complaining about debt and all of this, right? And on one hand, they're like, we get it. Like things are way more expensive for you guys than they were for us. And like you have to work so much harder.
For her. I'm like, she will never have the experience of being like in an apartment or a dorm or whatever. I mean, she did dorm, but like, I don't know, like the way that we got to. Like, we got, I don't know.
But here's the flip side. And they brought this point up and it is true too.
Okay.
They said, so on one hand, like we feel for you guys. It sucks. Like it's hard. I don't even know how the girls are going to be able to afford houses, like whatever.
Yeah.
And like it shows like the income doesn't match the house prices anymore.
I know.
However, with that being said, they were like at the same point, so many of your generation, the generation under you has traveled Europe already, which is something that like my generation and up didn't do until retirement.
Right. They didn't hop on cruises.
No, they didn't. You didn't travel like this. You'd go to like a state nearby and like go to a fair for a week.
Trevor too, his family went mainly inside the United States.
Right. And it was like little vacations here and there that were like easy camping trips, things like that didn't cost money.
Yeah.
We weren't paying for our kids to be in every activity possible. So our costs were pretty low with that. A lot of us had one car for the family. Like, so we made a lot of sacrifices to be able to afford homes and be able to afford these things.
Yeah.
So you guys are living a totally different lifestyle, one that's like the housewives. Everyone wants to live like these luxury lifestyles on a middle class income.
I know. I feel like we're setting our kids up for like failure in the sense that we're giving them everything we can possibly give,
Right.
and they think that that's how their
And
life
they're
is
gonna be
going to be, and
disappointed.
they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Because I cannot tell you what, like, family vacations are at an all-time high. They're not just doing it summertime. They're
Yeah.
doing it on their spring break. They're running
Yeah.
out to Disney, Universal, whatever it is. Everyone's doing it on long weekends. Like, we
Yes.
didn't do that shit. We did it,
Right.
like, once a year we went to Disney or SeaWorld or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? That was it.
So my perspective on that is like, I definitely agree, but I think it's because so many of us are at a point of feeling defeated. I think that we see how much everything costs, though we're almost like, well, fuck it. Like,
Yeah.
we're just gonna be in debt forever. We might as well enjoy life.
That's what I was
Like,
bringing up. Is like, if it's like your one life to live,
right. And it all circles back to
it
that.
all circles back. I don't personally do this, but probably because I'm a little bit older and my parents are older, and they always taught me, don't buy something unless you have money for it. Like,
Live
they
within your means.
literally, if you do not have the cash to buy it, unless you're trying to build credit, which they helped me with that too, like, buy a couch and pay it off and you'll
Right.
have excellent credit or whatever. I have excellent credit. I don't have debt except for our kitchen that we remodeled or
Mhm.
whatever. So I don't live like in that way, but I want to. I want to be like, what the fuck? Let me just get 5 credit cards and fucking do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Like, who's judging me for one? And who cares? If I die with a bunch of debt, who cares, right?
I guess the fear of it is it's all the before. Like, let's say you live till 80 with all this debt. It's the,
What happens though? If you're
well,
80 in debt, what
they
happens?
could start taking things.
Okay, well, I'm 80. I'll just
Well,
live
it's
and
not
like,
gonna happen at 80 though. So,
yeah.
like, the fear is always owing monthly payments to things. And,
Okay.
like, eventually you're not gonna be able to open up any more credit. So, like, let's say you really did need something, an emergency happened, no one's gonna loan you money,
What if
right?
you're just paying the bare minimum though?
So if you pay the bare minimum, eventually with too many, I'm saying this from experience because we've had this happen before. Like, we dealt with this years and years ago and we screwed up, and like eventually you have too many bare minimums and you
Okay.
can't make them all and
Okay.
you have to choose. And it's like, we have been in the position where it's like food shopping or paying a bare minimum on
Yeah.
a card, and that's scary.
Yeah.
And that's a place like John always is like, I never want to go there again. You know, like, it's a
What
scary
happens
place.
when you just don't pay it?
Well, eventually debt collectors, and I mean, I guess they can start taking from you. They can take your wages.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know how long it takes to get that, you know, and eventually, I mean, your house can go under foreclosure and they can literally take your house from you,
Yeah.
you know? So, I mean, especially with kids, that's all scary. Like, those are your, you know, that's your foundation. Now, listen, in the grand scheme of things, I don't know how
The
long.
grand scheme of things, when you kind of zoom, but when you put it like that, I'm like, oh yeah, no wonder I don't do that. But like, I don't know if like it's a short-lived kind of impulsive, like, fuck it, let's
Yeah.
slap it on a credit card and do the vacation of our
Yes,
dream.
yes. And I agree. I think there's times where if
But
you can be really
I don't do that, but
well
I wish I
calculated,
had
we
that
never
sort
use
of
credit
like,
cards anymore.
yeah, I wish I had that sort of like, let's YOLO, let's do it. And we'll
I
figure
do
out the money
that,
later.
and I'm like, we'll figure it out once we get there. And
Yeah.
we've done it where we have like literally been under the wire, and we are like, okay,
I was
like,
gonna say, have you ever been in a position where you couldn't make do somehow? I always tell Trevor when he worries about money and stuff, I'm like, let's just do and we'll figure it out later. And we've always somehow managed to pull through. And I'm not
make
sure if
do
that's
in
like a
what
manifesting
sense?
love attraction shit where
Like,
if you believe it and see it, it happens for you somehow, some way, or what.
well,
But
make do in what sense? Like paying something? Like, what do you mean?
yeah, like the money will come afterwards.
Like booking a vacation, for example.
Yeah.
Oh, we book vacations without the money all the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what I
Like,
mean. So nothing's really bad that's ever happened from that concept.
well, we have actually canceled a vacation before. Yes.
Okay.
Well,
there you go. You can just cancel it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And like, that's worst case scenario, but obviously, yeah, for the most part, we try to make it work and we'll try to like do it. I mean, I'm trying to get better with money. I'm definitely not great with it. And I guess I do want to eventually retire, and I guess I do eventually want to help my kids,
Oh,
you
that's
know?
another thing I wanted to think about is like my parents and their generation was all about their like pension or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
and they have money for retirement. They're like appalled that Trevor and I are not really saving
Yes.
for retirement. And I'm worried, but only because everyone's telling me I need to worry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'll probably like always have a job. I mean, I see older women all the time like
Yeah.
working, and they're like, yeah, but I don't want to do that. I'm like, do what? Like go somewhere a couple days a week? Like that's so hard for you?
Right, right.
That's so hard for you? I'm like, I want to work. Like my Trevor's mom was like, I don't have to work. They're retired now, but she'll like work a couple days at like a candle shop. She's
Yeah.
like, I love being around young people.
Yeah.
It gets me my mind something new to get up, get dressed, and get out of my fucking house. You know what I mean? So like, I don't think that's a problem necessarily. Sort of work part time forever. Like, why is this big deal that by this certain time I don't want to work anymore?
I guess
I don't know.
because a lot of people didn't live out a lot of their dreams beforehand and they want to be able to have the freedom to travel at that age and do whatever they
You
want.
could still travel. You mark off work.
Yeah, but the side of that being retirement's like you're healthy right now. You can move.
Yeah.
Things aren't hurting. Like you're not
Right.
in pain every day.
Right.
Like when you're 78, like that's not usually the case. So like saying I want to get out of the house, yeah, some of them do. Like I see my grandma, she's like down to do it. She just said she was like she technically retired
Yeah.
just finally and she's 75.
Yeah.
But she's like, I'll pick up a couple little things, but she's like, I can't do much anymore.
Right. And I get that too.
And that's hard.
I
So
get that too.
I think having the freedom to, even if you're doing it for fun, I think that's different than having to do it.
Yeah.
Two different things.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd want to always, even whether it's for fun or not, but I'm pretty sure that I'll probably have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I hear
why
you.
do we want all these vacations? That's what I want to bring up. Like, why do you like traveling so much and wanting vacations all the time? Like, what does that bring to your joy in your heart and your brain? Like, you always want to travel, and you like
traveling's
cruises,
like super important to me.
and you just said that like you'll put money into vacations, and even if you can't do it and have had to cancel, like why is it always? Why do you want to allocate your money towards vacations? Like, I don't want to always allocate my money towards vacations. Mine's like I want to go have like a Reiki experience or something.
Yeah.
Like I'd put my money towards
I like that too.
I'd put my money towards like an energy worker or someone tell me like I was an astrologer, like what did I get my birth chart read?
Yeah.
And like to me, or like a facial or like a massage or something. I don't know. I don't think about ever allocating my money towards a vacation or a cruise or anything.
So funny.
Like that's not my desire to get up and go.
Yeah. I mean, we're all different, I guess.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm saying.
sense.
Like I'm interested. Like why? And because you're not the only one. Everyone I know wants to go to Disney, wants to go on a cruise, wants to go to Europe, wants to do something.
So I think there's different types of travelers. First of all, I think you have vacationers and you have travelers, and I think those.
Okay.
I think those two.
Define the two.
I think those two people look for different things.
Okay.
I think you have vacationers who are looking for a break from their life.
Okay.
They're exhausted. They probably work really hard. They like going to Disney and like.
Okay, well, can we stop right there? Why do we need a break from our life?
Right.
That's fucked.
Right. But I'm just saying.
Okay.
I think that you have vacationers who like that, who kind of like to get away from it all and be in a place that brings them like happiness and joy. Like those tend to be like the beach people. Okay. People who just want to go sit on a beach for a week.
By a beach, but okay.
Yeah, like they want to sit by a beach for a week, or like the people who like love like going to Disney and Universal. I view those as like more vacationers. And then I think you have the people who travel, and those people tend to want to really like immerse themselves in different cultures, learn different things, experience different things, see the world, like see that the world is bigger than just them. And I think if you were to ask me, like that's part of it. I love like seeing the world out there. I am so interested. Even just driving through, like we were going through Florida. I'm literally looking out the window whole time. I am so interested in how other people live. I am so interested in how.
Me too. That's all I do. I always look at all these different like houses and stuff, and I'm like, I wonder what they're like. Or what I want to see
like all of it. And I think traveling for me is two things. I think as far as for me, it's like very much a seeing that the world is bigger than just me, learning about different cultures, seeing different things, enjoying different things. And then also on the other part of things, I feel like it's enhancing my life and my kids' lives. And it's time for us, and I'm not escaping life, but it is time for us to really bond with one another. There is nothing.
Yeah, I think you're good about that.
That's going to disrupt us.
I think you're good about the family bonding thing. I never think about that my family needs to bond.
Yeah.
Like I never, and I remember, and this is like just like a hard truth for me, like life just kind of goes by, and like we do our family things at home and things like that. And like even Callie's like, we've never taken a vacation, all 5 of us.
Yeah.
We are always going to see your family, my family in Florida, or going to Indiana to see Trevor's family. That's like our vacation that has been our every year. We go to one or the other during summer, or both during the summer, and then we usually go to Indiana during Christmas, and like in Florida. So we're always going to Florida and Indiana. And to us, that's like vacation. My kids have fun. They get to see their cousins. She's like, but we never do something as the 5 of us without other family members.
And it is a different vibe because we travel with both. We travel with family sometimes, and we travel just us. And it's two different vibes. But I can tell you when I look back on like some of my happiest times with my kids, it's trips we've taken.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's why you're looking to do more.
Yeah.
You want to feel that feeling
adventures they've gotten to do, the things that they would never do at home that they've gotten to do elsewhere.
I love that you love the wonder. Like you have a joy for that wonder and like getting lost somewhere and having 100%. A new experience. You have like that.
Yeah.
You get the thrill from a new experience.
The best moments I've ever had in life have come from like unplanned moments.
Yeah.
100%. Like it could be the smallest thing, right? It could be The other day, this is on a really small scale. The other day we were going to the outlets and we were stopping somewhere just running errands and we were in a rush.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we passed and like there was a Ben and Jerry's that just opened and there was balloons and a DJ outside and I was like, what is going on there? And we ended up finding out it was like their free cone day. And this is so stupid, but like for a second the kids were like, "Oh, can we go?" And I was like, "We're rushing, we're going to all these stores." And I was like, "Wait, that's like so cool." Like for them, that's like such a cool thing. Free ice cream. They can literally pick out whatever they want. So I was like, "Yeah, let's go." And we went and they danced in front of the DJ and they got an ice cream cone and it took a whole 20 minutes and it was like the best part of the day. Probably the best part of their week. And it was like such a little unplanned moment. But like that's on a small scale all the way to a big scale of like us being on vacation and like wandering around and finding something really cool, which has happened a million times too, you know? And like that ended up being the coolest moment of our entire vacation. And it was the unplanned moment, the part I didn't research all day, the part I didn't like look into.
Yeah, there's something you said about that. Is like we have all these planned out things for vacations and stuff. Same thing. So we were let me sidetrack a little bit, which is I think I don't have such the travel bug because I lived overseas like half my life and I got to see a lot of it. So I guess I'm just like,
it could be, but then there's also people who talk like you who are like travelers for life. Then.
Oh, totally.
You know?
All my friends are.
Right.
All my friends still travel a lot.
Yeah.
And I think they, were immersed in that and they're like, I can't do anything else because I've seen it and I want more.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I don't want to travel. I do. Like, remember our big goals, like we want to get to Japan because I haven't been there. I think just as far as like Europe and stuff, I've done it like, and also tropical places. I know that sounds silly, but like
no, I love tropical places.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Like we never got to do that. It was always like other countries in Europe and stuff. So that was always my big thing. I'm like, I just want to sit on a beach with a pineapple drink.
Sometimes you need a vacation and sometimes you need to travel.
Yeah. So wait, what was I saying before that?
I don't know.
Oh shoot. We'll come back.
You were going to go off about unplanned things.
Oh yeah. So when we went to Florida for spring break, which wasn't like anything grand, we just went to see my parents and hang out with them. And we were walking downtown because I was trying to do fun things for them. A friend of mine suggested we go down this one strip of like where there's like swings and things. And I was like, oh, I've never really walked down Beach Street in like forever.
Right.
And there was like little shops and stuff. And there was this looked like a toy shop-ish type thing, but then it had like sign magic and stuff. We walked by it and I'm like, that kind of looks fun, but let's go do this to get the chocolates and whatever we were going to get. We walked by. I'm like, do you guys want to go in there? And they're like, yeah. And so we did and ended up being like a magic shop. And the guy performed like freaking, I was like dying. I was like standing there forever. But he was like, you want to see some magic tricks? I was like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Whatever. And he went on for like freaking 45 minutes.
You had a whole magic show.
Oh, we had a whole magic show. And I was like, what the fuck? But they were thrilled. I don't think Freya and Styles have ever really seen like good magic. It was actually good. Like everything he did was good. Their minds were completely blown. And so it was one of those things that I was not going to walk in there.
Yep.
We ended up going there. And that's what they remember from the whole stupid trip was that stupid magic
And I guess
show.
that's the part of traveling I love if you bring it back. It slows us down.
Yeah.
And it's like we're in such a rushed lifestyle and it slows us down. And I get to really be with everyone.
Like a recharge. Like the rest we needed and like a recharge and using our mind and our bodies and our energy in a totally different way.
Yes.
I'll take that
100%.
from this conversation.
And I also really like nature.
Me too. That's why I don't want to go to places like Disney
is in Arizona
right
now.
I want to be nature. I want to do like
totally.
His family always wants to go on like cruises or go to Disney or whatever. I'm like, I want to go to a spring.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's amazing.
Yes, I agree. I love those trips. Like my friend right now is in Arizona and the pictures she's posting of like those arches and stuff, like it's incredible. And I'm just like, I could feel it from the pictures. Like I literally am like, oh my God, I need to go there.
I know, me too. I just want to be in like trees and lush plants and greenery.
So that's the other reason we can't get all of nature here. Like,
yeah, I get that.
You know, so it's like you get to see different things. So yeah, I guess that's all of that combined. Like it just gives me such a love for traveling.
Yeah.
I will say, if I was to take it back to like when did I start? Because I wasn't always like this. I always loved vacations, of course. Like always. And my family vacation.
Everyone likes vacation. Everyone's in a good mood. The kids love it. It's a new adventure. I think I just need to put myself like in it. I think that you're better at putting yourself in kid Dana form and being like, I would have liked that as a kid. I don't know why I don't usually think about that. Like I don't
connect to it.
Yeah, I don't like go into like inner child, like what would Julie like at this age?
Yeah.
You know, and so you're really good at being like, I think that's gonna be, she always tells me, she's like, I think we should do this because it's gonna be fun for them.
Yeah.
And I never think about that. I just, if we get there, I'm like, oh, this kind of looks fun. But she definitely goes into like what a kid would like. I think you're really good at that. It's like
I try to find a mixture of what they would like and what we like and kind of combine it together. And
yeah.
I try to like show them other things that not just a kid would like because obviously they would probably choose to go to Disney all the time. But I was going to say, like, if I was to track it back, like, one really big thing that happened in my life was when my grandma died. So she she spent her whole life, she always wanted to travel. That was something she always had in her. Ooh. And she got married and had kids super young, like 17 or 18.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And like she didn't work. It was the whole traditional, like how everything went in the 70s and 80s and whatnot. And then anyway, when my grandpa died, and he was more of like a homebody and stuff, and they didn't have a great marriage towards the end, whatever. Anyway, when my grandpa passed away in 2006, she, I think, had like an awakening of herself, and she really went and like tried to find herself. And she went out every night and danced. She loved dancing. She would like literally be at any restaurant if a music played. She didn't care who was there. She was dancing. She was in like leopard print and like sparkle and like just like did what she wanted to do.
Yeah. That's
anyway,
amazing.
She ended up like dating again and doing all this stuff. And one of her things was she wanted to travel. Like her and my grandpa did a little bit of traveling. She did a couple of cool trips with him, but like for the most part, like she was like heavy on it.
Yeah.
And so she did a bunch of traveling within the 4 years before she passed away. She did all of the national parks basically. Like she did like Yosemite and Yellowstone and all these cool places.
My friends are in Yosemite right now.
Yeah. And she did all that and she loved it. And then the week before she died, the 4 weeks leading up to that, she like went through all of Europe. She went to Russia even. She went to like
I'd love
Switzerland.
To redo it again as
she
an
did
adult.
all of it. Yeah. Her and her
boyfriend
boyfriend
my kids.
did it.
Like you said, you want them to see other things.
Yes. And she was so excited, and she came back and she was going to tell us all about it. And then she was at Lowe's, and it was your average day, beautiful outside, and she was going to plant, and she had all of her plants with her, and she was in the crosswalk going to her car, and a car hit her and she died. And well, she didn't die. She like stayed in the hospital for 8 days on life support, and then we ended up having to make that decision.
I can't even imagine being hit by a car.
Yeah. And she was 60. You want to talk about retirement age? She was 60.
That's young.
5? Yeah.
That's young.
She was still working. She was dancing every night. Like I said, she went out more than I did. She just went through Europe for 4 weeks. But anyway.
At least she got to do those things.
So that's what I was going to say. My grandma always lived in not great financial state. And my dad and her used to fight about it all the time, which makes sense, because my dad was stressed about it because he wanted to make sure she was taken care of, Also, when you do need to get taken care of, it's a big burden on your family.
I know.
And I see that aspect of it all the time too.
So whatever, we raised them, so.
I know, but it's a huge financial burden on them to like, for example, like an assisted living can cost anywhere between $15,000 and up.
I know.
I mean, so
people are always trying to save for that part too. They think,
that's
well,
hard.
If I get really sick, I
yeah, it's really, really hard. So anyway, long story short,
funeral is expensive too.
Oh, I know, but that's like something, whatever. Anyway, long story short, my dad said at the end of it, because he was trying to talk her out of going to Europe for a little while, like being like, come on, like we have to, like you have to make these payments, whatever. He was so happy she went. She was so excited. She did everything she wanted to do, and you never know. And
Did she not have the money for it, and your dad ended up having to pay for it?
No. I think she had it, but it was always like should have been going to something else. Right. But anyway, like I said, it was just a moment when I look back, I really think that's when things changed for me. Is like, I was like, wow, like
you can get hit by a car.
Yeah, she was 65, but she could have been 35 and that could have happened. It was literally some employee that just got off of work who was rushing out of there and looking at the light and not looking at the crosswalk and just rammed right into her.
Imagine how that person feels.
Yeah, that was a whole other thing. But the point being is like, you don't know when it's going to be your last moment, I mean, there was just 2 like TikTok stars that were like 25 and 35 that just died out of nowhere too. Like you just never know. And not that you can live life always like that either. You obviously do have to have responsibilities and stuff, but I definitely think if something's pulling on your heart and something is like calling to you constantly, you're going to have more regrets for not doing it than doing it.
And you as a nurse,
never know.
She always said that people would say what they regretted. Yeah. Right? Not what they Wait, what'd you say that
they always say their biggest regrets always in life.
In the hospital.
And like, or can I give you advice? It was always spend more time with your family and travel. That's it. I've never heard anything else ever.
Spend more
and
time
when
with
I
your
tell you, I've
family.
heard this from many people.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what are we doing to ourselves that like it's work, and how can I make more money? Because we think with more money we can make our family happy.
Yes.
And if we make our family happy, we can afford expensive vacations and stuff. But you need to stop doing that and come back to be like, how can I do the 20 minutes this week with my kid and like really make sure that I'm bonding with them or my husband or whatever?
Funniest part of all that is it's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious
cycle.
cycle.
You actually probably could look at all these people who are like RVing or living in tiny homes or doing that. They are taking luxury vacations and doing crazy things.
Yeah.
And it's because their bills are low.
Yeah.
So like the more money, the more bills, the more money you have to make to pay the bills. It's like actually like you might not have to make more money. You might have to just way lower your bills.
I want to way lower my bills.
Me too. So me and John have been looking at that
Have
and
you?
looking at the
Trevor's been
most
asking me from the
expensive.
beginning of the year, like, let's go through every fucking thing. We have
Yep.
every subscription, like Hulu, everything, and like really figure out. He's like, we don't think very well on that kind of
No,
stuff.
we
Like,
don't either. We're very impulsive people, and clearly you know that. We're very impulsive people, especially me. I've definitely made him more impulsive, but yeah, I mean,
do you think that you spend like an astronomical amount of money on groceries since you have a
yes.
family of 5?
I think we spend a lot. I don't think we spend as much as some people though.
Okay. Do you like cook more and stuff than go out to eat, or do you guys eat out
We
a
don't
lot?
eat out much.
I was gonna say, I always feel like I'm doing my kids a disservice in a way because, like, as far as like knowing how to act in like maybe a nicer restaurant or whatever it is, or even using like their utensils and stuff, like we don't go out to eat much.
So, a big thing with me and John, and it's always been us, like, even when we were dating, is like, I would rather go out to eat less, but I want to go to nice places when I go.
Me too.
I am not doing no Olive Garden or Cracker
Yeah,
Barrel
like I'd rather
bullshit.
like do a nice experience.
Yeah.
We talk about that too when we
Yeah.
go out as like the 4 of us.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care how much really it is
Yeah.
because we're making this. I'm already throwing in babysitter
Oh,
money.
yeah.
We're not working that day or night or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, let's have it because how many times we do that? 2 times a year?
Right. Right.
Probably like,
Yeah.
it's not often. So you
Yeah.
want to make sure the experience is rather nice. But
Yeah.
yeah, we don't really go out to.
I hate nothing more than spending a ton of money or even not even a ton of money, even like a decent amount of money and like the food sucked. I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh, that wasn't even worth it. Wasn't worth the calories, it wasn't worth the money, like
Yeah,
it
it's
wasn't worth
kind of
the
disappointing in the
experience."
moment, but then I forget about it within an hour. Like
Oh
I'm like,
yeah, for
whatever.
sure.
Like
But
it is what it is.
it always makes me think like, "Oh, I should have just saved up and then gone somewhere nice." So we don't go out too often. We used to go out a lot more in New York. I'm
Yeah.
not crazy about the food places here, so I tend to not
No.
go as much.
Yeah.
But we do. I mean, we probably go out more than you guys do to
Think so?
restaurants. Yeah. Yeah, I would say that like if I was to guess,
Like we never do.
yeah, no, I would say my kids are at a restaurant at least once a month, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think we are
At
too.
least
Like
once
we
a month,
definitely well, I don't know.
you know? And then
Yeah.
once in a while we grab fast food if we're like
I was gonna
really in
say
a
on the way to
rush.
Florida, my kids love it. We always grab fast food.
Yeah, we
I'm
do that
like,
too on road trips and stuff.
yeah.
We also obviously eat out when we're traveling too. So I guess there's times where it's more if we have
Yeah.
dance conventions or if we have
I know you guys do for sure.
whatever, if we're like out and about
Uh-huh.
going to see family, whatever.
So I guess that's what I was trying to say. Do you think that you could do better on like your groceries
Yeah.
or you're going out to eat? Like if you started just with your food
Yeah.
and that, like just looking at your groceries and how much you spend going out to eat, and if we're at a dance convention or where
Mhm.
you're at, is there a way to like save money on that day? Does it have to be breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Totally, totally, totally.
Um,
And we've gotten better. We have
could you have
started
just
bringing
split a meal
things. Yeah.
instead? Like you and John ordered one meal instead of both separate, or like make your kids split? Like
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
We could
even then,
definitely
my
get better
kids are
on it.
like, "Oh, I don't want that," or whatever, like, or they hate it. I make them split their drinks all the
If we're
time. Like,
going
if they
out
get,
to
like, a
eat,
slushie or
for me, it's
something
a treat.
that's fucking this big, I'm like, "You guys
Oh,
can split that."
yeah. Totally.
But they don't like it.
I
They're like,
know.
"You always make a split." I'm like, "'Cause I'm not gonna spend
Yes.
$12.
On something you won't finish anyway.
You'll have 2 sips."
Yeah.
I know you.
Yeah.
They get so mad at me.
Yeah. I tend to view, like, us going out as, like, treats, so I'm not very, like if they all want something different, I let them
I
get
know.
something
You
different.
do have a
I
different
feel like
mindset on
whatever,
it.
like, I wouldn't wanna be told what I have to have and share with it, so it's like, whatever. However,
But in life, they're gonna be told, "No, you can't have that."
not at a restaurant, though. I think with food, like, they should be able to eat what they wanna eat. I'm
Yeah.
not it is what it is. Like, if one of them we were at a restaurant, they were, like, so excited, and one of them really wanted, like, a steak, and the other one really wanted, like, a burger, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I
Well,
feel
I
like
don't make
whatever.
my kids split now that they're older, but when they were younger, I'm like, "You
Oh,
don't
same.
fucking eat a whole
Oh,
meal."
no. When they were little and they were ordering, like, chicken
Yeah.
tenders, yeah, I'm, like,
Yeah.
splitting that.
Yeah.
But, like, I do think we can get better on groceries. I do think we're pretty good on it. I've talked to other families of 5, and I think we actually spend not that much
Oh,
in
wow.
comparison.
Okay.
We tend to, like, really try to do well with that department. But obviously that waxes and weans too. Are the kids in school or are they home?
Wait, what's waxes and weans mean?
Like, changes.
Oh, I've
like,
never even heard that before.
Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. Like,
Yeah, of course. It's gonna like flow in and
Yeah.
out depending on what's going on.
totally. I mean, our biggest payments right now, if I'm looking at it, obviously is our mortgage.
Okay.
Which I can't really do much about. Dance
Mhm.
is basically the same as our mortgage. Um,
And you only have one car, right? No, you
we
have two.
no, well, we only have one car payment. We've always only had one car
Yeah,
payment.
that's
We
amazing.
always try to make that a thing because
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like, I don't
amazing.
care about cars enough to have 2 car payments. I was just watching this clip of a girl.
I'm so mad I didn't keep my Prius.
I was just watching a clip of the girl, and she was saying that her and her husband's car payments are $1,400 a month.
Yes.
That's
If you have
disgusting.
2 huge cars,
That's
yeah.
disgusting.
Oh, I know, plus the car insurance
That's
too,
ridiculous.
and the gas.
That is so insane. That is
But
more than people's mortgage.
I know, but you see that it appears, at least in where we live, that and I know some people have beaters, like beat up
Yeah.
cars and stuff like that, but it always seems like these 16-year-olds are getting like nice ass cars.
It's bizarre. I mean,
Like
I know
when we were growing up, like I hate to be like when we were growing up, but we didn't get like nice cars. You got like a used car.
It was a mix in my area. Like some people had beautiful new cars and some people had like
Yeah.
okay cars. Like
But once again, we're giving the idea to our children. They see
Yeah.
the house that we live in. They see that we're driving 2 relatively decent cars.
Mhm.
Everyone has phones, and you'll get a nice car when you turn 16.
Yeah,
And you
John
don't have to
actually
work for
said that
any
on
of
the
it.
drive home from Florida yesterday. He said, "Are we going to turn our kids into brats? Like,
Right.
we are giving them everything they want."
Yes, I feel like yes,
And
we
I got
are training our
defensive because
kids.
I'm like, "Those are my babies."
I know, and you do like to let them have the things that they want when they want, but it's not out of letting them try to be brats. You're just trying to show them an amazing, wonderful life. And
Yeah.
like you said, I don't want to hold them back if they want a steak.
Yeah.
I want to give them a steak. And like sometimes I'll be like, oh, you guys don't need that. And I try to always put like a Dana brain on, and I'm like, what's the right decision? Do I
It's
just
hard.
say yes
It's
or just
hard.
say no? And like I think you're really good at like just say yes because that wasn't a big deal. But then you're better at being like when I do say no, I mean no type thing. So I always
Yes.
try like listen to you're like an inspiration for me in some way.
Aw,
But then like
that's so
as
cute.
far as the brat thing goes, I don't know where do
Where
you draw
is the line? Yeah. Yeah.
I'll say that Trevor's mom also raised her 2 kids and let them have everything they ever wanted in the means in which they're able to provide.
Of course.
She'd bring up like,
Yeah.
okay, like if
I'm not putting myself in
Trevor wanted the
bankruptcy for
new
it.
like Nintendo for Christmas, we'd get him that. If Emily wanted what in style jeans they were, she's like, well, of course I got her those jeans. Like, and they're definitely just like middle class. They weren't, rich or anything. And those 2 kids are very loving. Like Trevor and
Yeah.
Emily are my favorite people. And I think they felt the love. And I'm not saying they didn't feel like without, but they both had to like work. They
Yeah.
didn't get college like handed to them, like, and I don't know. I think there is a middle ground, I think, to not give them everything they ever asked for. But like back then is different from what we're doing now. So I don't know.
I grew up like that. My only thing is I'm not great with money, and I wonder if that has something to do with it. But I grew up like
Because
that.
you're trying to buy things for your kids?
No.
Or
I grew up like meaning like for the most part, I got most of what I wanted within my parents' means. I mean,
Yeah.
I wasn't getting like a Range Rover, but like I probably had like a better. I mean, I had a normal car, but like probably on like it wasn't a beater. Like
you were
John
also
got
an
beaters.
only child too, so they were
Right.
able to do that.
Right.
Whereas you have 3 children.
Right.
And are you trying to do the same thing that your parents did, but with 3 kids? Is that stressing you out? You know what I
Right,
mean? Or
right,
stressing
right.
your financial situation out because you were trying to live the way
I
you
am
lived
not
with them.
stressed about giving my kids like amazing experiences, life, and this and that. I'm just wondering if we're allocating it in the right direction.
Right. Me too. I'm always
That's it,
wondering
I
that.
think. I'm not concerned about how much we're spending on them. I'm not concerned with what we're providing for them. I'm wondering, am I doing
Like
it the
you're
right
speaking
way?
about extracurricular activities.
I'm speaking about a lot of things. I'm
Yeah.
speaking about, like you said, dinners out, extracurriculars, whatever. I mean, schooling. Am I doing everything right the way that
I'm
I think I should
always
do it?
questioning that. I tell Trevor every day, I'm like, I don't know what we're doing. Is this it?
Right.
Are we doing it right? Is this what I wanted for my
I
children?
know, and you get one time to do it.
I know.
You get 18 years
I
to
know.
do it.
And
it's
also
like,
for myself too.
Right.
Like I'm like,
it's your
am
life
I
too.
doing everything that I thought that I want to do? I'm happy. Like I have my hobbies, I have my interests. Am I successful in the way that I thought I was going to be successful? Like I knew that I was never going to be like, I guess like a career driven person.
Yeah.
Like my friend and I were just talking about this the other day. But I don't also want to be like a stay at home mom either,
Right,
where I
same,
didn't have
yeah.
anything. Not
Yeah.
that a stay at home mom is crazy. Like they have to be organized.
Well,
they have to-
everyone just wants different
yeah,
things.
like I'm not
Yeah.
discrediting that at all
No.
because I was that too when my kids were younger. Like I
Yeah.
didn't work as much and stuff, but I don't really know too if I also know what I want and my purposes are being
So, like,
fulfilled.
do you think that's a common experience? Like, I never can tell. Like, I'm like, sometimes I talk to you and I'm like, okay, everyone's experiencing this. Like, we all don't know. But then they
Yeah.
talk to other people and some people seem so sure.
Yeah,
And I'm like, are we crazy?
girl, we are.
I mean, like, it's like
But
everyone.
we don't know behind closed doors how sure they really are either.
I
Some people just
guess,
put on
but
a
it's
front.
just a conversation. Like, I mean, either like you're either sure in what you're doing in life or you're not sure in what you're doing in life. I mean, I know everyone obviously has, I'm sure, small questions, but like I'm talking about, like, I question everything.
Me too, all the time.
All the time. Like,
I'm always
my head is constantly like,
da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
yes.
That's why I have to watch Reiki and
Oh
like
my
meditation
God.
videos live on TikTok because I'm like
Something has to be wrong with me. something has to be wrong with me. I literally, and then I'll go like way down the hole too. I'm like,
Me too.
I will research everything to live a totally different life.
Me
And
too.
I'm like, okay, here's what we gotta do, blah, blah, blah. Like, John's probably like, what the fuck?
He likes it.
Sometimes.
Even if he doesn't
he always
like
gets
it,
nervous. He's always like, I am so scared you're gonna get bored of me. Cause like I feel like you get bored. Like I get bored of everything.
I always tell Trevor he's the longest lasting suitor I've had.
But I'm not
And
even
he
talking
should be
about
proud of that.
in men. I'm talking about like I just get bored. Like I'm like, okay, we've done this for a
me
couple of
too.
years. Let's do something else
I'm
now.
not even talking about just him. Yeah, I'm talking about everything
And
too.
I think that's why I like traveling too.
Yeah.
It's a boredom thing. I feel like it really does. Like, I'm not kidding you. There's a peace afterwards. Like,
even if I get to the destination I want traveling, sometimes I get bored there for a couple of days. I'm like, hey, I've seen this.
well,
done this.
same. And I'll go and I'll find different things to do. But I'm saying like when I get back from somewhere new, it's almost like a piece, like for me, like a piece of like, I could like sit there and be like, okay, like,
yeah, you
I did something new.
And you also appreciate coming back, whatever.
Yeah. But for me, it's more of like I need something new in my life every, like,
I feel like there's a term for that or a name
I
for
know.
that.
I don't know what it is. But yeah,
like
John always says that. He's like, you're going to get bored of me one day. I'm going to be the next thing.
Nah, I don't
I'm like,
see it.
no. I'm like, I just get bored of
You're
like.
a keeper. He's a keeper.
Yeah.
John, you're a keeper.
You're a keeper. I just get bored of, it's not people I get bored of. I never get bored of people. I have people in my life for a long time.
Yeah.
I just get bored of like certain like I need like something, the new exciting thing
like
to happen.
Cycle. You need like a new cycle of some sort.
Yes.
And I think everyone feels that way. I'm sorry if like, I guess there's a place and a thing for every single person, but to wake up and do the same thing for like 25, 30 years, like the same
that gives
thing,
me
same
anxiety.
Routine. I know I am routine oriented, which is why I have like my breakdowns. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? But you have to then go back to, are you happy though? Are you peaceful? Does this bring you joy?
Yeah.
You know?
No, I've never been
my mom's always like,
just like that.
Come up with like a new, I'll call her sometimes. I'm like, I always, I'm like, what am I doing? She's like, well, just if you need to shake things up, like cook something
That's a good way. No, that wouldn't do it for me.
And I'm like, I mean, I guess, Mom, like I could try to make it.
That's not shaking it up for me.
I know, but sometimes I shake things up a little too hard, and then I'm like, whoa, that was a lot,
Yeah,
so.
I'm a big shaker. And that's why I'm like, I mean, truthfully, that literally is what happened. Like, I mean, part of it when we moved.
But does that mean we're not happy then within ourselves? Like that we need to shake things up?
I don't know. So
then I start worrying about that.
I'm not worried about that. So, okay, John's mom, his parents are very routine oriented and very like homebodies, and not that they don't do anything, but that's just always how they've been. Like they've just always been like they go to work, they come home, they watch TV, they go to bed, they do it again the next day.
I know
Saturdays they clean.
You don't like that, I know.
I can't handle that, but I think it's great for them.
Yeah.
Right? It's like their thing. And I remember her saying once, I had a friend who used to travel all the time. All the time. And she's like, what are they running from? Like, why aren't they happy in their life? And I was like, but why does it have to be that? Why is it that they're running from something? What if that is their version of life? Like, to them, they need that. And I think I've always felt that because I feel like that. Yeah. Like, I need that. That is living to me. Like, living is shaking things up all the time, new experiences, seeing new things, like doing new things. Like,
I like that too. But I also feel like for me, I want to go within. Like I'm always wanting to go within because everything's so for me.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm like thinking of like some Buddhist monk or something. Like to me, that's a cool life. Like they're so grounded and everything's happening like in their meditation. They're having out of body experiences and like things like, or not just Buddhist monks, but just anybody that's like working on themselves. I don't know, going into deep meditation, perhaps get to a point where they can channel or whatever it is. Like that's some stuff beyond what sometimes I get lost in this idea that this is just a big illusion, right?
Yeah.
And that we're caught in the matrix or something like that. And like it's not really joy, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't necessarily mind the like escape, whatever mentality, like people need an escape. Whether you're drinking, whether you're eating, whether you're having an affair, like all these things. But why does escape have to, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is why does escape have to have like a negative connotation?
Yeah, true.
Like, yeah, we live like a crazy kind of life in this society right now.
Yeah.
If you need an escape, you need an escape.
Yeah.
Go fucking do it.
Yeah.
If that means you can run away to a vacation and drink your ass off for a week and get sunburnt and come back and you felt like that was like the naughty part of you, it's better than going and sleeping with someone, having an affair. Mm-hmm. Your escape or whatever, that thing that you need, that itch you need to scratch. Why is that so bad? Why are we not allowed to scratch our itches?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we just supposed to deal with it?
I think there's both. I think like you said, everyone's different. You're gonna have your people who love the routine and love the homebody
Yeah.
life. You're gonna have people who love the fast life and want to get everything out of it. And you're gonna have your people in between.
Yeah.
And I think most people live in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that when you are on either extreme, it's very easy to be like, how does anyone want that? Like, what are
We're
you
easy to judge, and
doing?
everyone things that you don't like, it's just basically a mirror.
Yeah.
Right? So like if you take things personally because they're like, why do you feel like you have to escape? It's like they're just a mirror back for you, right? You don't have to freak out about that and just be like, this is what I like to do,
Yeah.
whatever. And the person that's like, why do they always have to escape? It's like, maybe you probably want to.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're only saying that because
Yeah.
you want to and you can, or you're jealous or whatever it is,
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own little vibe going on. And I'm always like, this world is so weird to me,
This
and I
world is
don't
so
know
weird.
what to believe is true anymore. Can we talk about that? I don't know what to believe is true anymore.
Oh, I know. I
We
don't know
can't
if
believe the
anyone can believe
news.
anything.
We can't believe everything on TikTok, but which is where a lot of, including me and young
Yeah.
generations, believe that they're getting unedited information.
Oh, for sure.
And then they're like passionate about it, like politically wise, and they're like, this is the truth. And I'm
Yep.
like, oh man, like TikTok is
None
not
of us are going to know the
like
truth
no
about
one
anything.
knows shit.
No.
No one knows shit anymore. And
No.
even in the medical field, like they're doing I guess they're doing what they've been taught and stuff, but then they're not broadening with like holistic stuff or
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
Eastern medicine. Like we are only doing what we're taught.
100%.
And,
100%.
like, what is the problem that we don't even know what's happening with our brain? Like what, like 60 or 70% of it? How are we okay with not knowing,
not exploring
what
inside.
the other uses are? This is why I want to do drugs and go in. And I'm not doing it to be like a heroin addict. Like I want to do like, I'm gonna say it right now this time, ayahuasca instead of ayahuasca, or like DMT, and like freaking try to connect with something outside of this.
Yeah.
Is that
But
escape?
even that, do you know if that's the truth? That could just be all an illusion too. Your brain does wild things.
It does, but I'd rather that than be stuck in this like weird ass Pleasantville matrix.
Yeah.
I mean,
I hear you.
I'm not judging it. I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
doing it. I came here for a reason, I'm sure. We are here to have a human experience.
Yeah.
I get that. And there's a lot of lovely things about being a human.
Amazing.
Yeah,
things.
and I'm not trying to say it's like saying when people are like, "Oh, I'm not proud to be, in the United States." It's like, okay, well, go to another country
Right.
too and see what that's
The grass
like.
is always
I'm
greener.
not saying like I'm not proud to be a human and like have
Not
human
proud to
experience.
be a human. I am
The
not
human
proud.
race, don't come after me. But like I definitely feel like I want to know more that
Yeah.
most people don't tap in on,
Yeah.
which is like the brain and the chakras and like everything's energy and stuff. And I definitely am interested in all that
You
crazy
should do
metaphysical
that
stuff.
more then.
I know I'm not though,
Yeah.
because my money's being pushed to fucking groceries, tans,
Eggs these
trying
days.
to keep up with
Shit.
I'm not trying to keep up the Joneses, whatever they say. Isn't
Yeah.
that like a saying? I'm
Mhm.
not trying to keep up with everyone, but I'm just living like everyone else is. And because all you assholes live beyond your means, I am too.
It's your fault, not ours.
Exactly. It's societal pressures. And I
It
know a
is.
lot of people that live off the grid and have done it, got their RVs, got their
Yeah.
tiny homes are saying, well, you can do it too. You don't have to live beyond your means. But how did I get here? And then how do I get out?
It's hard. We need an escape plan.
I don't know how to do it.
I know it is hard, and it's hard when
And
it's
do
not
I
just
want to
you.
do it? Like my therapist always says, like the grass is not always greener
Right.
on the other side.
Right.
So go live off the grid and all those
Well,
things, and then
This
you'll
is why I want a
fucking get bored
1 year
there
gap
too.
year. I want
I
1 year
know,
gap
talk
year the way
about
people
that.
take it before college. I want 1 year of like being able to try it all
Yeah.
out and
But why
see.
now? Why not do it when they're like 15 or 16 when life fucking sucks when they're in high school anyways?
Okay,
I know that
that's a
you
long
think there's like
conversation.
this one guy was saying this is the best years when they're 10
No,
or whatever.
nothing
but
about that. Nothing about that. I think that when they're little, there's you're I don't even know how to describe it, but like it's different. Like think about yourself at 15 to 18. Like your friends are super important to you. You might have boyfriends, you might have relationships,
Yeah.
you have a job possibly. Like life just starts really
Okay,
happening. And
maybe
it's
not
like
then, 13 to 15.
sure, that's possible.
I think that's a good age.
Yeah.
Because they start to like not have like they go through that awkward phase anyways.
Well, I mean, I have 3 kids, so they can't all be 13 to 15. Some of them are gonna have to be
All right, fine.
younger.
10 to 14 or whatever it is. That'd
Some
be
of
a
them are
good
gonna
age.
I mean,
don't
I have
know.
6 years between them, so it would be 10 to 16.
10 to 16.
10 to 16.
I do know what you're talking about though, because when my mom she saved all her money from work and we went to Egypt. It was her big gift to us. Like, and we went on a cruise on the Nile and then got to see the pyramids and stuff, which
Yeah.
is still remarkable. Like Like, it was amazing, but at the time, I was 15, and it wasn't that
No.
exciting for me to crawl up this pyramid and
Nope.
get up there, and then you look around, there's nothing fucking in there,
No.
by the way, and unless they've changed it, and you're like, "Hey, cool," it's like and then you go back down, and it's hot and
Yeah.
sandy, and it wasn't and I was on this cruise with none of my friends, and all I thought about, and this sounds really shitty, is that I wanted to be back with my friends.
Yes.
And then but now as I'm older, I can reflect back, and I'm like, "That was a fucking cool
Of
experience." I got to see
course.
one of the 7 wonders of the world
Yeah.
and, like, the Sphinx and shit, and, like, that was a good
I
bonding
think
experience with my parents,
developmentally,
but
we just have to accept, and I say this to John all the time because he always talks about that too. And I'm like, we're in this window. We are in a window, and you have to accept it. Like, teenage years are a totally different thing.
they were different from where we were. Did you see that thing that I sent you? It was a video about the guy was saying, like, the millennials is the last era of kids that, like, ever did things together, like, a lot together,
Mhm.
like, from going to the mall, getting in the car to drive around, playing video games next to each other. I mean, I know we're still doing that, but, like, it's different now. Everyone can communicate on their phone. They don't really need to meet up
It is
anymore.
different now, but kids are still. I know people say that, but like, I mean, from what I'm seeing in my neighborhood and other, like, kids are still hanging out,
I know they're
like,
hanging out, but,
for
like,
sure.
then we
And if they
we
have a
the
choice between
only
hanging out with
thing
mom
we
and dad or
well,
hanging out with their friends, they're
true,
still
but I'm just
choosing their
saying, like,
friends.
then we only ever wanted to hang out all the time, and we would be together on those moments that, like, people are now on their phones
Yeah,
instead, is what
yeah,
I'm trying to
for
say.
sure,
Like, from going to get something to eat to all your extracurricular activities, like, and like I said, going to the movies, like, you wouldn't even go to the mall to shop. You just
hmm
wanna go to the mall to
Oh,
hang
social,
out with your
yeah,
friends, and, like, as there's more of a social thing going on than what we do now, I think.
yeah,
And that's part of, not just the phones, I'm not just blaming the phones, and
yeah,
yes, kids still hang out, and yes, your neighborhood kids come in and out and things like
yeah,
that,
yeah,
but it's also the pressures that we put on them with all the things they do after school
for
as
sure.
well. So, like, there's just like, I don't know.
Less time, more restrictions, and easier communication in
Mhm.
ways. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I
I
don't know if
definitely think
that's I
so.
mean, the future is happening, and then I always talk about this with Trevor, it's like, you can't stop it,
You can't.
technology is there, like, even if you wanna live off the grid and do the whole farmer thing
Oh,
in the
yeah, you can't
RV and the
fully live
tiny
off the
home,
grid.
like, you kinda can.
No.
Like, our specific jobs have to have technology
Yes.
that makes money for our family.
Yes.
Can we choose a different one and become a farmer? I guess.
I don't think you
I
have
mean,
to
I
live
wanna be
off
a
the
farmer.
grid to experience things differently, though. I think there's a middle ground, like everything, right? Like, there's a
What
middle
would
ground.
you what would be your ideal middle ground then?
My ideal middle ground would be probably like, if money wasn't an object, I would keep my house
Yeah.
and I would do like 1 year traveling in like an RV, a little bit less technology, more time with nature, like
Mhm.
seeing all different places, like really
Yeah.
immersing ourselves in it all. Um,
I wonder if we can just
and
somehow
then come back.
convince the world to have a gap
Pause.
year. Yeah, like,
I think
Styles was watching some YouTube video that says in 2025, the sun is doing something or other where all technology will be, like, gone for, like, 6 months or something. He was, like, having a panic attack, and I was
oh
like
my
and the
god.
first thing I said to him when he said that, I was like, "Cool," and he's like, "Cool, mom? Cool? We won't have internet for, like, 6 months." I'm like, "Perfect."
It would screw up a lot of things though. It wouldn't be as
Well,
cool
he
as
go
we
that's what he
think.
said. He's like, you wouldn't be able to do the," and I was like, "Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, maybe the world needs a shutdown like
Yeah.
that."
So I think COVID was that for a lot of people.
I
And
know.
I think that's where you saw a lot of people changing their mindset on
Yeah,
things. I think that's where you saw people
absolutely.
deciding they didn't want to go to an office from 9 to 5. I think
Yeah,
that's when you saw people deciding that they wanted to travel.
yeah,
RV sales went
I
skyrocketing after
know.
that. I think it gave people
People
a
started growing their
moment.
own fruits and vegetables.
Yes,
They
it
made
gave
their
people a
garden.
moment to pause
Yeah,
and be like, is that the life I wanted? All of a sudden they're spending time with their families. They're
yeah.
eating together. They're doing things together. Like, I think it changed things a lot. And I
I
think we're
feel
going to
like we
look
need
back on it.
another something like that, though.
Well, I think we're gonna look back on it, and that's gonna be a big part of history that changed us big
Oh,
time,
yeah. Oh, yeah,
for sure.
I know.
I think that that's
Yeah.
a missing out fear. Like, you could stop everything for a year. You
I
could.
need help, though.
I
Like, that's what
know.
I'm saying. I'm admittedly saying I'm caught in
So
this,
let's make a pact to do a gap year together.
and then I can't get out. But I don't know if a gap year is what I necessarily
Yeah,
want.
everyone needs
I
different
do want
things.
to I'm not quite sure if I do a gap year, Dan, that I'll come back, I guess is my fear. Is like I feel like if I stop something, I'm very much that person. Like if I stop something, I kind of stop it. And then
Mhm.
I try something else. So I don't know if I'll just like come back. I don't know if I'll want that. So
Yeah.
that's like my fear.
Well, that's something that you have to decide at the end, and that's allows you to. I said to John, "How do we make decisions on what we want in life? How do our kids make decisions on what they
Yeah.
wanna do in life when we've never shown them anything different and we've
I know
never
you
shown
keep saying
ourselves
that. And I
anything
keep trying to
different?"
have conversations with my kids like
The idea of it is hard, though.
Yeah, I know.
So it's like,
just like if it's hard for them, it's hard for me too.
Right.
Or it's hard for me. It must be hard for them. Like if I can't make a decision, how can they? And they don't even know life really yet.
Absolutely. So I'm like, how are we making all these decisions that are costly, that are expensive, that are time sucking? How are we making all these decisions and just going with it all the time
That's
and
what I
never
mean.
stopping?
But everyone else is too. I'm like, are we sheep? Like, how are we not waking up saying like, but we have to then, I guess what I'm saying is that we all need to unite. Like the world needs to come together.
We don't have to. We can make that decision. But we
have
to see
but
all
I feel like
sides.
we should. I feel like the world should come together and be like,
I mean, that would be beautiful.
Like this is
but
too
like
much.
That's never gonna happen. We don't even agree
don't
on
say
like
that. We need to manifest that.
We don't even agree. The world can't agree on like the most basic. You could say the sky is blue and the world won't agree.
I know. But we need to fucking stop that shit.
Okay, so me and you are gonna go on this journey and stop the world.
Yeah, we need to unite and just say this
Project,
is too much.
Like pause.
Something needs to happen with our taxes or whatever. It's like a good start. I think a lot of people are paying way too much. I think it's a good start. I don't know. I don't know why we can't just make all homes, like all of them, just $20,000. Like in Saudi, all of us had the same townhousey kind of home. There was different models of it, but there was no richer or
Everyone
better.
wants to one up each other.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So if we all had kind of the same home, like around $20,000 or something.
That sounds very what's the word with a C? Oh my god.
I know. I don't know. I'm sitting here trying to build the future, and I'm like, that's probably a really bad idea. But
what is that word? Like Soviet, like very
communist?
Yes.
Oh god.
Where everyone has to have the same amount of money, make the same amount of money, do everything the same.
I guess what I'm trying to say, the pressure, and I would never want to take creativity away from someone that wanted a different home and like architecture and all that kind of stuff, because I'm into the
I know
like
the idea of what you're saying.
But I don't know. I'm just trying to, how do we simplify some things worldwide? I think that's not the answer to have like the same house, $20,000. But I'm saying like, how do we like get out of this? How do we get out of it? How do we get out of so much like wanting bigger, better, and all that kind of stuff?
I think we're going there. Stop. I think people are starting to open their eyes to it.
I hope so.
We were on an upswing for so long because people had nothing, right? People came from nothing and they wanted more and they wanted to do better for their kids and they wanted more and they wanted more. And then we got to a point where it was like, whoa, like we have too much we can't even handle anymore. Like this is a lot now. I think you're starting to see a downswing again. People are deciding not to own homes because they'd rather just rent and not have to worry about anything. And it's simple.
TikTok video on that too. He's like, just rent.
Yes. People are living smaller and all that. But you're always going to have your people who want the most that they could have material wise. You're always going to have
and
that.
we need different, obviously, variations.
You do. You need different people.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like watching materialistic. I love that. That is entertaining for me. Let me watch the rich and famous live their lives. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I also like watching minimalists.
Me too.
Like, I want to see it all. I think it's cool.
I
that
do
we're all
too.
different.
I like seeing it all too.
And
but
all
don't
I
you
can
think,
do is try to live a little bit of each and see what goes best with me.
I know. But don't you even admit that like we now on TikTok see so many people beautiful and living like this luxury life, and we all are trying to get there
100%.
Which is
social media definitely makes it easier to compare. Yeah That's why I did DIY eyelash extensions this morning and almost ripped my eyeballs out because I was trying. I literally saw a girl on TikTok do it and I was like, wow, that looks so easy and she looks so beautiful, and then I did and I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
I know.
Don't do it. 0 out of 10 recommend.
All right, fine. I guess I'll just put a lot of mascara on.
Yeah. Well, you don't need it. All right, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, definitely.
This is Not Your Mom's Podcast. We post a new episode every Monday, so make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any updates. And also, you'll see new footage up from last week where we went to a med spa. So go check that out.
That was good.
The whole hydrofacial is recorded if you're interested in that, and you can see.
It's a good experience. It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's that.
We're done.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to follow and subscribe so you can tune in next week.
Make it how you wanna